I legitimately cannot think of anything more horrifying. That sounds like my personal hell. Hello friends, foes, and those still under review. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. So the mid-year freakout tag just kind of summarizes your reading journey through the first 6 months of the year. And nobody tagged me in it, I just kind of felt like doing it on my own. I think there's 14 questions total, so we'll get into things. As usual, if I talk about a book that you are interested in reading, it will be linked down below. I think there are 14 questions to this, so let's get into it. So the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2026? And I think that would have to be Dark Roads by Chevy Stevens. I loved this. So this is a thriller that is based on real events that have happened and are happening every day on Highway 16 in BC, otherwise unfortunately known as the Highway of Tears, which, for those of you who are unaware, is a highway where a lot of mostly Indigenous women and girls go missing frequently. So it is obviously a very heavy topic, so be aware of that going into this book. The thing that I thought was so effective about this book is it kind of ends how you want it to end, but it's still not at all satisfying because you know there are so many other women that have kind of been mentioned in the story that have not gotten justice and probably never will. You know, and the killer in the book is not the first and certainly won't be the last, and you know that at the end. And it's made even more horrifying in real life because you know that no one has gotten justice in the way that they should have. I highly, highly recommend this book. Cannot say enough good things about it. I also really highly recommend looking into what is actually going on in northern BC at the moment. I think the more people who have eyes on the situation, the better. And you know, what good is having white privilege if I can't use it to direct people's attention to where it should be? I will link a bunch of stuff about that in the notes down below. Please go look at them. There's no real good way to segue out of that, so we're just gonna move on to the next question, which is the best sequel you've read so far in 2026. For me, that was Drinks Well with Others by Deanna Raybourn, which was the sequel to Killers of a Certain Age, both of which are about a group of elderly assassins who were the first female team in their organization in their youth. They have just recently retired and are having trouble getting out of the game because someone has put a hit out on them. And so this is that's kind of the plot of the first book. I can't really tell you much about the plot of the second one because it kind of gives the whole thing away. But yeah, that one was really fun. Cannot recommend it enough. Next question, new release you haven't read yet but want to. That would be Fabulous Bodies by Chuck Tingle. That came out just on the 7th of July, I believe. So it's about a woman named Poppy who is a mother and aspiring fashion influencer by day and a grave robber by night. One night she gets paid to dig up the body of a recently deceased rock star, but she does not count on him coming back to life. Other than the blurb just sounding like a good time, all I needed to know is that Chuck Tingle wrote it. If you only know Chuck Tingle for his massive catalog of sentient object and dinosaur romance books, you're really missing out because his horror is fantastic. He writes some of the best queer horror that I have read. Camp Damascus was fantastic and would also make a very good summerween read if you're still looking to flesh out your TBR a little bit for this season, and Bury Your Gaze was also really good. Like, his horror is just phenomenal. You should go check it out. Next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have two, technically. The first one is Kiss Slay Replay by Rachel Harrison, and it appears to be about a kind of Groundhog Day type situation, but as a wedding guest. The very last sentence of the summary is, after a horrifying turn of events, Willa comes to understand that she's stuck in a loop of carnage and terror that she must learn how to escape or else suffer a fate worse than death, being an eternal wedding guest. And I legitimately cannot think of anything more horrifying. That sounds like my personal hell. So I just like Rachel Harrison as an author anyway, so I'm really excited for that one. And the second one is The Burn Line by Jonathan Sims, and that one comes out August 25th. If you're not familiar with Jonathan Sims, you should go check out the Magnus Archives podcast because he was one of the main writers on that. The Magnus Archives is like an anthology horror podcast. It's kind of like serialized, and it is a complete series now, so you can go binge the entire thing. It is legitimately so unsettling. I cannot recommend it enough to you if you are a podcast person. I'm really excited for this one. It sounds like it's about an incident on a train car on the London Underground. That's really all I need to know about it, to be frank, because I just really like Jonathan Sims' work. He's like Chuck Tingle. I just need to hear his name and I'm on board. Next was your biggest disappointment so far in 2026. So my biggest disappointment this year probably would be the Hollow Trilogy by Jessica Verday. So I originally picked this up because I was kind of thinking back to books that I read in my youth, I guess. And the first one came out, I think, the year I graduated high school. And I remember really loving it at the time. And so I was like, I should look this book up again. I'd, have vague memories of really enjoying it. And then learned that it was a trilogy and there had been 2 more books released, which was good because I remember it ending on the cliffhanger. And I was like, well, what the hell? I didn't realize that it was, going to have a sequel at that point. It is a series about a girl who is a senior in high school. Her friend has just died in an accident in the river. And so she is mourning that. She's mourning, the loss of her best friend, but also she starts to see this boy around town. And so she kind of makes friends with this guy and later finds out that he's dead. And so she is in love with a dead boy. And she figures out that he's supposed to be her other half. And so she was actually supposed to die in place of her friend. Apologies for the spoilers, but again, this came out in 2009, so you should have read it already. Also, I don't recommend reading it now. It's just so frustrating reading it as an adult now that I, have no time for, well, men in general, but just the communication style of young adults. It's like, just talk to each other. For the love of God, talk to your mother. Or, heaven forbid, find someone who's alive. You still have decades ahead of you to find someone who you love just as much. I get that your hormones are raging, but still, I don't know. It was a fun little trip down memory lane, but it's about a day worth of audio hours that I will just never get back. Its one redeeming feature, though, is like her parents are the parents that you want to see in those like old CW shows like the Vampire Diaries and stuff. Like, they're the kind of adults that age group needed at the time. So yeah, there's that one. I will still link it down below for you if you want to read it, but like, proceed at your own risk. Don't say I didn't warn you. Also, just like teenagers, man. I didn't like teenagers when I was one. I don't like them now. So yeah, that's that one. So my biggest surprise of the year so far was probably the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Phillip Fracassi. I figured I would probably like it because it's a slasher novel set in a nursing home. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Like, I halfway through it was texting everybody I know saying, you need to go read this, it's fucking amazing. Yeah, I loved it enough that I already want to listen to it again, so I'll probably reread it before the end of summer, to be totally honest with you. Favorite new author, debut, or new to you? Technically, I started my first book by this guy last year and am just rolling it over to this year because I got like maybe a chapter in and then had to put it down because lifed, and that's Richard Van Camp. The book by him that I just recently finished was called Beast, which was very entertaining. Like, I'm a big fan of Indigenous storytelling to begin with, but there's something about his writing that just really speaks to me. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just the general vibe. I cannot articulate it in the way that I want to, so for now, just saying it is the vibe is gonna have to work. And on top of the, like, Indigenous storytelling influences, there's a lot of stuff in his work that is very uniquely Canadian. There's, like, something about, like, the Canadian high school experience that I think speaks to all of us, I guess. I just really enjoy his writing, so he's one that I'm going to be picking up again. I did also see a short story of his got animated, I think, on YouTube somewhere, because like the story was really good and the animation was good. I cannot remember what it's called, but if I find it, I will link it down below. You should go watch it. It's fantastic. Newest fictional crush, Gideon Nav. Like, I'm maybe like halfway through Gideon the Ninth at the moment, and I love her. Is she too young for me? Yes, but her vibe, if she was like, a decade older. She's so far blown all of my book boyfriends out of the water, so there's something to be said for that. My newest favorite character has to be Claire McIntosh from You'd Look Better as a Ghost by Joanna Maxwell. I just really love her practical approach to killing people. Like, she's just very matter-of-fact about it, and she only technically targets people that have it coming, with the exception of one lady, and, like, I don't think she had a way around that, not to, like, argue for murder, but I don't know. She's very funny, she has a very dry sense of humor, and like I said, she's just very practical and matter-of-fact. She's what one of my great-aunts would have called an old dirt farmer, so it's hard not to love that. So what was a book that made me cry? Well, there's 2 that I have already mentioned, and that is Dark Roads and Drinks Well with Others. Both of them made me cry, both for different reasons. Still very highly recommend them both. A book that made me happy, probably Tourist Season by Brynne Weaver. I'm just really excited to dive back into that world again. I really enjoyed the Ruinous Love trilogy, so I love the fact that there is a spin-off series to it. You get to see one of the characters from the first book have their own story and find their own justice, and I'm really glad that she has found her own, like, little safe space. Safe-ish, I guess. The most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, or received so far this year. Most of the books that I've read so far have come from the library this year. I've kind of been trying to make a point of that. So I have not bought very many books in 2026, but one that I have bought is Scythe and Sparrow, Barbara's version. I got this at HomeSense in Red Deer, and I just, like, look at the little raccoon tracks. It's got Barbara right front and center where she should be. Do I own physical copies of the rest of the series? No, I don't. but I'm glad that I have this one. What book do you need to read by the end of the year? House of Leaves. I need to read House of Leaves. I have had it on my TBR every month since I bought it back in December. You know, my friend Day has told me a long time ago that I needed to read it. It's been sitting on my nightstand for like 6 or 7 months now, so it just intimidates me. Like, I'm maybe like 50 pages into it, and I just feel like I might be too dumb for it. There's just a lot in there, so I'm gonna get my like red string conspiracy board out and maybe make an entire video on it so that I'll read it so you don't have to. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. The last question, your favorite member of the book community. I refuse to answer that question. You cannot make me. I love all my book friends equally. With that, we're gonna wrap things up. I hope you had fun. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. If you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe because there is plenty more where this came from. As I have mentioned previously, I will link all of the books that I mentioned down below. Make sure you check out your local library first because they could use your support. Just a note on the links, they are affiliate links, which means I get a little bit of a commission for every book that you buy. But whenever possible, I like to use links from bookshop.org or booksellers.ca, so all of your money goes to independent bookstores and not to Amazon. So if you like to support your local independent bookstore and take a few bucks out of Daddy Bezos's wallet, I recommend trying them out, even if you don't use my links. Anyways, that is all for me for now, so stay safe, be good, enjoy your book, and I will catch you in the next one.